Well, hello, folks. It's Friday, and you're probably wondering, why the hell isn't that dash in that car? You're going to talk about this dash again. Well, yes, I am. I'm going to talk about this dash again. So we hit a major roadblock last week, and we thought with our field service manual and the other manuals we had and the additional wiring diagram that I ordered from classiccarwiring.com that we would be able to finish this thing out. This has an M&H wiring harness in it. Very good wiring harness. They make basically your factory supposed to be a plug and play wiring harness. That car has an M&H wiring harness in it, and it was pretty straightforward. However, this one here, when I did that car, I had disassembled it and put it back together, and I had a lot more recent memory when I did it. I actually disassembled this car probably, I want to say back in 2019. I disassembled it down to a shell where it had been, basically it had come out of the field. So we disassembled it and we tried to segregate all the parts we could. But it's been a long time since I disassembled all that. So the customer came in and he did a wonderful job of putting everything together on here on the front. I think I've already shared that. This car was originally an automatic transmission car. He went to a standard shift transmission car, and it didn't have the factory tack. He did add the factory tack option there in the middle, and he did a really good job. So he did the initial installation of the M&H wiring harness, and the wiring harness part number for the engine is, if you're doing a 1970 Dodge Dart, it's part number 30640. This is the engine and light harness, and of course this is our windshield wiper harness. So that led us to, that all was installed before we put the engine in. We get to this and we end up with plugs that I have no idea what they go to. I could figure out, I knew that when I did my Barracuda, I was familiar with some of them. Obviously, this is for the steering column. Now, this is a 1970 model, so everything goes from the key being on the dash to the key being on the column. I knew pretty much about the rear light harness here. You know, it's pretty obvious, right? Dimmer switch, plug. Those are pretty obvious. Then we get into some of these wires here. And we get into more wires, more plugs, and more plugs, and more plugs, and more plugs. So, with all of that being said, we had to stop because I was just overwhelmed. Now, I have some friends that are on Facebook on the A-Body Mopar Facebook page, and I'm going to post this video on that group. Thank you very, very much to the gentlemen that have steered me in the right direction regarding the tack harness. The tack harness is on its way. We know now a good idea of how that goes. So we called the company M&H. Here's M&H right here. And this harness, the dash harness here, or this is the air conditioning harness. Looks like it's part of it here, 38465. I called, and believe it or not, I sat on hold for, it was probably about 5 minutes to 10 minutes, and there's a gentleman that works at M&H, and his name is Ken. And Ken was extremely helpful to our cause. Ken had patience, and he took the time, at least 30 minutes to an hour, to go over all that. I know that seems like a long time. I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. But Trish took the labeler, and as we went, we labeled everything. Obviously, we labeled the obvious, what goes to the column, dimmer switch. But it got into where one of the plugs here this plug here had to be removed. The black wire with the white tracer was plugged in here. I could not figure out how to power up the HVAC system because it was separate from the main harness. Well, the plug that comes off the main harness was this one, and this wire that I've got into this connector was actually inserted into this connector here. It would stay in here if this were a heater-only car with no AC. However, being that it has AC, this gets removed and it goes on, and this is what powers up your AC system and your heater control and everything. The other thing I had wrong, I had the red plug that I thought went to the ballast resistor because it's a 3-prong plug. I had that backwards, and it turned out, where is that? Well, there it is right there. So I had this plug plugged in here, and I assumed that this went to the resistor. It does not. This goes to the resistor, and so does this. This goes to the single wire and the resistor, and this goes to the pre-plug piece. Good, great. Then it gets into, I figured out, or well, he helped me figure out, this goes to the radio. So we went ahead and tagged that. This powers up the lamp. This is the harness, this is the harness right here that the customer bought, like he should have, that plugs into the heater control switch and for the HVAC system. This is for a relay that if I can remember correctly, I think this may be for the headlight relay that's like a timer. This, and now it comes back to me being that it's yellow, this is for the door dimmer switch on the passenger side, and I've got this label for, this may be, I believe this was for a map light perhaps. I believe this might have been for a map light. Several of these we put dots on, as he said, because this would have been used for the heater only. We will not be using this. And we won't be using this. And these are for buzzers. Several things that this car did not come equipped with. So now that we've got that figured out, now we understand that when we go to plug this in, we were confident in our 3 plugs to go to the bulkhead connector. Yes, this is a resistor. So with that being said, I went ahead and installed the radio, but then I thought, wait a minute, it was something I knew I was missing. Well, when you go to install, which I had the wrong, and you guys have probably seen, I had the wrong heater control switch cable. It was way too long. I had it going through the firewall. This, I believe, is the correct one. However, when you go to put this on, this lever on, and on the blower case as well, there's a clip that goes on there. If you don't put the clip on, that thing's just going to fall off. So we're waiting on a set of clips to come to put this in. It's the little fasteners and it's the little things. The radio. This radio is a 1970 radio. It's the Rollomatic. As you can see, it's a factory radio. This went out to be converted by this company, Retro Radio Shop. It's actually not the same company as I used, Retro Sound, because my radio that's in this charger doesn't look as authentic as this one is. Waiting on the plug, the customer is shipping me the proper connector that plugs into this. Once I get that, I will go ahead and make the splices and properly terminate these wires. So it's also getting a really expensive aftermarket single speaker that's going to go up into here. So that's where we're at. We're waiting on the small things that are the things that eat you up on a project like this. When you do this, when you do the wiring especially, you have got to, it is imperative, you have got to take your time and make sure that every single wire either has a place or you know that it's not being used. Because we want to put this in one time only, and that's it. So that's where we're at on the dash. Now, when those parts come in, that video is going to be up, and you're going to see us installing this into the car. Now, going over here to the car, as you can see, that cable that I removed, the one that was too long, I've got the grommet out. It's over there. There is also a hose that comes below that cable, and it operates. It goes into the vacuum pod here. The vacuum pod is on its way. So we have the vacuum pod. There's a hose that comes out. I remember because now I did a 67 Barracuda that had the same setup. So we've got to find the hose that's on the heater box that comes out. It'll go through that grommet and it comes in through here. We have all of our fittings, fan shroud, nuts coming. There's special fasteners that go into here that allow you to install your fan shroud. We have the factory fan shroud coming from Mancini Racing. We've got fasteners galore coming from eBay and several places. Now, here's a question I have, and now it just dawned on me. I think I know what this goes to. However, this car did not come with that option. If anybody can tell me, does this, I believe, goes to an electric washer that would have gone onto the tank for the window washers, for the squirters. I want to say that's what that is, now that I remember. But starter relay going to be on its way. This is a Pertronix electronic ignition. The harness that he purchased, I believe, is for an electronic ignition for the conversion. If not, we will make this work and make it work properly, and it'll look stock. So that's what I wanted to share with everybody, is that it is imperative that you have all these little details taken care of before you go to put that thing in. I've done these before, but obviously I haven't done a ton of them. If I've done this every day, there's people that do this every day and they can do it with their eyes closed. I'm not one of those people. So any comments, any criticisms, please let me know. Tell me if I'm doing something wrong. That's where we're at. So again, M&H, if you have an M&H wiring harness, and this goes for this can be for a GM or a Ford automobile as well. Call Ken, go to the technical assistance. Ken is I hope he doesn't retire anytime soon. The guy knows his stuff. He's very intelligent, and he knows where the wires go. So I think on the upcoming Oldsmobile that we're going to do for the same customer for a 72442, if we have any issues, we're going to let Ken help us out on that car. So yes, progress. Once we get that dash in, you're going to start seeing things go really fast on this car, and eventually it'll be back on its way to Texas, to the owner, to Kevin. He can start enjoying it. I really want to drive this car really bad because of this thing right here. So hope everybody has a good Friday. Just thought I'd share that. We made progress, mental progress and technical progress. As soon as all the little items show up, we'll be getting it in. So have a good Friday, everybody.